Yeah, thank you. A very good evening to all our viewers, partners, and to our guests of honor. We at Her World feel honored to curate this talk show on the topic Good Samaritans, Women as Messengers of Hope in COVID-19. We have with us two extremely experienced speakers, along with our moderator for the day, Ms. Rakhee Bakshee. The pandemic has taught us many lessons about the need for community-based initiatives, empathy, and the power of love, determination, and kindness. In our pursuit of hard power, we often forget the driving forces behind our societal amity. Incidentally, today also happens to be the International Day for Eradication of Poverty. As we attempt to discuss themes around gender justice, poverty alleviation, and more, let us strive to make this a movement. Our first speaker for the day is Ms. Roma Wani, prominent social activist and former bureaucrat. She has held several important positions of responsibility as Managing Director in the Jammu and Kashmir Women's Development Corporation, Special Secretary to the Government of Jammu in the Planning and Development Department, Vice President of the Bharat Scouts and Guides Jammu and Kashmir Chapter, Honorary General Secretary of the Indian Red Cross Society, Jammu and Kashmir State Branch, and several others. She was also the recipient of the prestigious Silver Elephant Award for outstanding service to the Bharat Scouts and Guides movement. We welcome you, ma'am. Our second speaker for the day is Ms. Vasundhara Tankha Sharma, Director of Partnerships, Wavemaker Partners. With a master's in management from the prestigious London School of Economics, she went on to follow her passion. A socially conscious woman with deep insights who was recently news for bringing to light the plight of an elderly duo of street vendors, Baba Ka Dhaba. Her initiative fans a very important message about collective responsibility towards the elderly in our society and the need to support local ventures. We welcome you, ma'am. Ms. Rakhee Bakshee is the founder, managing editor, and director of Her World, a leading web portal that believes in empowering with information on sustainability, gender equality, and other social issues, creating allies along the way. She is a veteran media professional, the former media advisor to the Lok Sabha Speaker, and a role model for girls and women all over the world. Our partners are Honor of Women, a group striving for legal awareness through workshops and seminars, Policy Center and Gender Lab of Miranda House, Kacheri India, and SDG Chopal, an initiative of the Nagrik Foundation. Our portal, Her World, is present on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and you will be able to find our links on the screen in front of you. I now welcome our moderator for the day, Rakhee ma'am, to kindly lead the discussion.
Hi everyone, and Anushka, thank you so much. She's already introduced us, so no need to really go further on that, but I welcome you all on behalf of Her World, Honor of Women, and Policy Center in general, and Miranda House. Miranda House is as an institution, has been with us and has been providing solidarity, and we are really thankful. Their students are with us in every edition that we've brought to you. And the principal, of course, has been guiding us. Honor of Women has been, of course, with us in all our webinars and talk shows, and we are really thankful. Apart from that, there are other supporters who are supporting us in our cause of messaging on gender justice, as Anushka described, on solidarity as far as women are concerned, as far as social issues are concerned. I think each time we are bringing you new elements and dimensions which need to be discussed. And I'm glad that this time we thought that during the lockdown, though we have talked about the challenges that women have faced a lot, if you see the numbers, for example, the cases of domestic violence which rose and so many cases have reached NCW, we also thought that women somewhere have also emerged out stronger and through their own work and personalities and activities, they have shown a new path. In unique times that we are in, I think that's a great message of hope. And I thought that this edition should be dedicated to so many of such women, and to symbolize that, we found these two prominent women. As described, Madam Roma Wani, you bring in so much of experience with you, and we are only going to be enlightened by whatever we talk to you about in this edition of Her World Talk Show. Of course, Vasundhara, as we know, comes with, again, a rich background of experience as a professional, as a human being. But I think from Baba Ka Dhaba, the kind of messaging on social media that she provided, and this whole human chain which came together was something that really pleased our souls, so to say. So thank you so much. And we start this show by first of all asking Madam Wani, at a time, Roma ma'am, that we are talking about, really touching humanity. COVID-19 is something that we are all faced with globally. And however we try, I think there is a streak which sometimes holds us back a little bit, but still we want to really go ahead. So these are mediums. I mean, when we talk, we discuss, we have dialogue, we have conversations, we have these positive images coming across. It emboldens us. What would you say on a day that we are really thinking of eradicating poverty? It's the International Day. Is how to really bring everyone together, how to really bring in equity at its rightful place, Madam Wani.
Well, first, thank you very much, Rakhee, for having me over in your show. And since we are talking about poverty, let me tell you, when my own awareness to the world came by, the first thing I noticed was poverty. I could never understand even then, if I have something, why doesn't another child not have? Or if someone has something, why cannot I have? Both ways. And when I grew up, I realized that economy plays a great role. And there's something wrong in the system, definitely. Because over the years, you are a media person, you met people. The poor tend to get poorer. The rich tend to get richer. Why? Something is lacking in the system. Perhaps the right kind of education, perhaps. Then in a matriarchal society, I think when the women ruled the tribes then, and I think they were more loving, more giving. The kind of education they gave their child was more embracing to the society. And now the woman, I don't know, may I use terms? I don't like to use them. I never use negative terms. But I think over the years, we have been called doormats. People just tend to trample upon us. And you've heard about women getting less wages, though they do perhaps the equal work, or they're working more, and yet they get less wages just because they're fragile in their physical, body. Now, in a time like this, something definitely has changed also. Though there are a lot of negative features surfacing, like harassment has increased, because the women are at home these days. And the workload has increased because they are working online, working from home. But when they were going out of the home 10 to 5, people took it in their stride. Okay, she's working, so she won't be with us 10 to 5. But now she's working even up to 6:37, 8. And she has to maintain that balance. And people expect, because the female is at home, so she should do all the work now, even during the day. I mean, these are things which are surfacing, I'm not making a blanket statement, but these are things which are coming up. As a counselor, a lot of ladies, they call me up and they tell me about their problems. So now, in a time like this, the good thing that has happened, I think a lot of women have started playing a very, very prominent role. And we here have made a group which is called Feeding the Poor, for example. or sustaining the people who could not because of losing their jobs, or you're aware of what has happened. So many of the people have lost their jobs. And then there were, of course, the labor class who didn't refuse to go home because they didn't have the means, but they didn't get work. So this group came together, and every day the case is put online. And
Okay.
what I noticed that women are taking a very, very active, they're playing a very active role. They immediately take on the responsibility of giving medicines to someone or rations to someone. Ah. And then even in the front line, our nurses, our lady doctors, they have not stopped working. They have not stopped working. They are not telling us that, oh, I'm a female, I need to be home, I have children. No, they are working. I'm not a feminist, Rakhee, I'm not a feminist, let me tell you. But I do tend to believe that everybody else was born, but the woman
You're
was
rightly
created.
You're rightly understood, Romaji. Let me now go to Vasundhara. Vasundhara joins us from Singapore, and thank you so much, Vasundhara, for being with us. And I think, and I must share with all of you here that, of course, so I did not know her, but I think the kind of social media campaign that she started, and Bhaba Ka Dhaba, which today, is flooded, as you've seen the latest visual, if you compare from the earlier one where we saw him crying, along with Kantaji, his wife, and how Vasundhara took to her soul and took it to thousands and lakhs of people who saw it there, and they came to contribute, and it all became like a happy joint. So Vasundhara, talk about your experience of reaching out to someone or reaching out to people who really need, little bit of help to begin with, and then it starts coming in a big way. Vasundhara.
Sure. Hi, Rakhee. Thank you so much. And really nice to meet you, Ms. Wani, as well. Grateful to be on a panel with you. How it all started was, it was a late night WhatsApp message that I received from my sister Damini. And the video was so touching. I was so distraught after seeing that two elderly couple who were so helpless. And back home in Delhi, I live with my nani and dadi. They were around that age, and just I couldn't even imagine if they were in that plight, and it really, really affected me. And it's not like I have a lot of followers on Twitter or Instagram, and I don't kind of, I use it more to express myself than to kind of receive validation. And so I use it. I was like, even if one person sees it and one friend sees it and they can go and help someone, it'll be amazing. So I kind of posted it with that intention, and I went to bed, and the morning I woke up to almost 1.5 million views, and help pouring in from cricketers to actors to politicians to journalists. Every single person had commented and had expressed that they really wanted to help. And I was completely surprised and shocked. And one of my friends actually made this comment, and it really resonated with me, is that sometimes, we're so focused on trying to make an impact, whereas all you need to do is like a small act of kindness, just help, just kind of like help out somebody, or just kind of put forward a helping hand, and you will see others follow. And that's kind of what happened with Bhaba Ka Dhaba. This was not expected. Now, I'm sure even the food blogger Gaurav, who kind of came up with the video, he did not expect this kind of response. So for all of us, and it was also, and even now, I constantly see people in my mentions in my newsfeed trying to promote local vendors and helping out their neighborhood vendors, which is so refreshing from the kind of toxic kind of talk that had been happening on social media over the last couple of months, as I'm sure we're all very aware of. So it's just a refreshing change, because COVID is a situation that unfortunately we're all stuck in this together. We're all experiencing this, and we should try and make the best of it and sort of come together and help each other. And this incident sort of helped people see the positive of social media, and how we can actually kind of make someone's life a little better.
Yeah, in fact, that has led to now so many other videos. I mean, recently I saw another elderly person, on the street selling a stuff, also, I mean, he was not looking for help, but journalists actually again posted it and said that, look, we need to help. So I think this new positive kind of surge in people, which was maybe lying there, but was not coming out. I think through these messages, through these social media campaigns, and just one line on Twitter, one line on Facebook can actually change lives of so many people who need it at this point of time. I mean, we know that as we all are, understand and agree that people are losing jobs. The economy is not in the best of shape that we want because of situations that we know about. We need to really help each other. We need to create this chain of humanity, and that's where we are. We thought not only that we should bring out this element of joining hands, but also bringing out again, and I must say, Madam Wani says not a feminist, but I think anybody who has these ideas of justice, equality, and the right kind of spirit about how life should be for everyone is a feminist.
I
think
100% agree, Rakhee. I was going to say that, Ms. Wani, you're definitely a feminist, because anyone who believes in equality is a feminist. And I can tell from your talk that you are one such woman, and you're a strong woman. You're definitely a feminist.
That's where. So, Madam Wani, I also want to ask you, at a time when we're talking about those who need us, which come from all sections of society, we're talking about women, we're talking about children. So many crimes are happening against adolescents, against children, trafficking, sexual harassment. So many things are happening. We are only trying to do as much, even as responsible citizens. The media, is at work. I mean, as citizens, we also need to talk about these things, bring about some of these issues which are buried under the carpet. And that's where these dialogues are very, very important. Talking about elderly people and senior citizens. That is, again, a part of our society which needs care, which needs concern, which needs love and affection and proper care, I would say. Madam Wani, what would you say? How much are we reaching out? How much do we need to do? How much of empathy we really need to not only have, but to come out with that feeling?
I think COVID-19 itself has played an indirect role in the family beginning to care for the elders. So many old age homes were coming along, and so many, we heard about cases, where there were suicides and there were murders all over the country happening, all over the world actually, but more so because our media talks only about our country a lot. But now with the COVID, with the children also who had migrated to other places, they have to be working from home. So they've come home, and economies are dipping. So obviously, first there was one nucleus family, and then they broke up into 3, 4, 5, and now they can't maintain themselves, so they're coming back. It's not easy for the seniors otherwise. But now where the children have started coming home, it's better. And Rakhee, we must appreciate one thing, that our country was not developed. Then we came into the stage of the developing. Somewhere we lost that word parampara, where my parents spoke about, and I'm sure your parents and grandparents have spoken about joint families. And even when the middle generation went out to work, the children never felt alone. So many of the evils, as I see, for example, drugs or addiction to mobiles and whatever, other addictions and other things which are coming along, are because children are left alone. So in a joint family, that never happened. The elders were always said to keep an eye on the children when the parents were actually out working, or maybe the mother was in the kitchen working. So I think that also was a cause of all the evils that have come in. Now with the COVID, I think somewhere we are returning. Then also, I think religion also, a lot of factors, we can't just pick up one thing and pinpoint. For example, religion. Religion is basically, what is it? It is telling us what is right and what is wrong for a healthy family, for a family unit. respect of elders, your, whoever you believe in. Now, when that touch is lost, so what are we going to hold on to? Where are the philosophies to hold on to? Are we only what,
I mean, to both of you, I mean, I bring in this question of because of the Baba Ka Dhaba kind of visual, which comes to our
Yes.
mind, where we saw an elderly person at 80 crying and
Mm.
still cooking and still trying to sell something which he was unable to. And I think
Yeah.
that's the point also that we're looking at, that how vulnerable a person at that age could be. And that's where the younger generation, and I'm glad they really came out in such huge numbers, have to have more empathy, understanding. I mean, there has been a law also. In 2019, we saw a law coming in which talks about how to really look at parents, look at elderly people, look at senior citizens. In fact, the law had to come in because there was a problem.
Yes.
And that's where we are again when we are talking about protection to women, which is very, very important. And we have been in our earlier editions talking about it. For example, what has happened in Hathras. There are other places. We saw something happening in Barabanki and maybe some other states as well. But to think about those who are looking very vulnerable because also of COVID-19. And that's why we need to talk about them. And we need to spread the message here from this platform also, that we need to reach out. Isn't it, Vasundhara?
Yeah, absolutely. Rakhee, I completely agree with you. What we saw in Baba Ka Dhaba was amazing. It was outstanding. It showed humanity. It showed people coming together. However, that was one couple. There are lakhs of vendors out there who are struggling, and so many elderly people who are kind of going through the same plight. So you kind of have to take a step back and also think about, how is this scalable? Is it really scalable that we keep posting it on Twitter and like people go there? Not really, right? So it has to, you have to take like a little bit of a macro approach and really think about what kind of policies and what is the root cause. Why is it that an 80-year-old even has to work today? Why does he not have that support system? Because unfortunately, while we do have pension schemes, while we do have a lot of yojnas and a lot of other things that our government provides today, unfortunately, the unorganized sector, which is a very large part of India, is not benefiting from a large part of these schemes. Like, if I join a corporate, yes, a part of my savings, I'm allowed to put aside and which I can kind of, use when I'm 60 plus. But what if I'm not in one of those big companies or in an organized sector? Like, employers should be maybe forced to give certain kind of protection to their employees, even if you're not a big tech and you see this dark comparison, like when you compare this to a developed country like Singapore or America, where you see that the elderly are not that reliant on their kids or on other people, because they have those kind of savings in place after a certain age. So I do think that we definitely have to put a structure in place, which is sort of more than just us putting things on Twitter or Instagram, because that's not scalable beyond a point.
Okay. So another point, which is since we are talking about self-reliance, we are talking about the confidence that all sections of society should have. For example, we talk about how women should be earning, and that's where her confidence would come from. We are talking about the state of of our nation also. So, for example, when we hear things like how certain nations are going ahead as far as development index is concerned, poverty index is concerned. And at so many indexes, I mean, we read it in newspapers. We all know that at this point of time, and I'm sure you all will share, there is a certain sense of anxiety in all of us. Of course, we are doing our job and we are going about our businesses as usual. But we don't know what's really going to happen. We are still trying to. We are seeing that other people, maybe are going away. They are sometimes in hospital. And that's where I think we as women, of course, bring out the best in us, as you say, in different sectors. As Madam Wani, you said, whether frontline workers, as nurses, doctors, teachers. There's so many teachers who are taking online classes, and it's a challenge, many of them. As journalists, we are going out reporting. As corporate, Vasundhara, you are tackling things from working from home, maybe many a times, and tackling so many responsibilities. Madam Wani, how would you say, especially since you are in Srinagar right now, how as women we are trying to overcome those challenges? And as a nation, we also have that understanding that we need to have our priorities set in at the right places.
You know, instead of talking about the grassroots level, because you know what happens in the grassroots, whenever there is a challenge, each individual will face the challenge. That goes beyond saying. Without saying, every individual, be he rich, poor, middle class, when a challenge comes, we are all there to take on. But on a national level, this is my personal observation. When the recession came the last time, you know, the world was seesawing between the economies. India didn't suffer much as it ought to have. I think what held us on was our cottage industry. Because till then, the culture of the cottage industry had not died down. Then what happened? A sudden change came. People who were into skills and they were into arts and crafts, their children wanted education and they wanted government jobs or private sector jobs. So what happened? Our foundation became very weak. You know, the farmer's child also wants to come to the city. Everybody started migrating to the metros and the cosmopolitan cities. This is my personal view. I could be, you know,
Yeah, I think
could be
right.
corrected. So Rakhee, what I feel,
I
I
think they're
feel,
getting that the fabric at the bottom needs to be strengthened, needs to be
yes,
solidified.
yes, yes,
That will give the boost, not
exactly,
to the platforms, from where we take off.
absolutely, absolutely.
I
Rakhee, you
any thoughts,
notice
Vasundhara?
even now when the COVID thing happened, you noticed all the labor class walking back home. But if they had the provisions at home or working, getting, you know, the schemes that we make, who are we making them for? We have to think about that. I've been in planning, so I know the lacunas, you know. If we plan just sitting at a desk, it doesn't work out. Even the plans that we make, suppose I'm sitting in Delhi, as you are now, and you're thinking about the whole country because you will think in terms of dealing with an individual. But at the grassroots level, you know, there are different pockets. There are climates, there are plains, there are mountains, there are valleys all over the country. And so even the planning needs to be in pockets, you know. And I never could understand gender budgeting. Why? If
Very
we are
true.
if we are dealing with a lady, a female, as an equal partner, as a rightful citizen, why are we thinking in terms of gender budgeting? I'm sorry. This is what, you know, is the drawback. But here, I'm not fault finding. I know everything is done with a very, very good intention. But at the implementation level, there is no flexibility. So some people get the benefit and some are just left out.
I think
So
I
we
take
have
this
this.
line from I do take this line from you where you're saying that at the policy level, maybe we do sit and discuss and make so many schemes. But as far as implementation on the ground is concerned, I think we need to really see as to how exactly is it happening. Vasundhara, with your experience in corporate and also otherwise as a responsible citizen, because those reflections we see in you and we saw in the latest episode, how would you really describe as to how our planning, how the way we make policies, what can we do better to really cater to one and all, especially women maybe?
I 100% agree with Miss Wani when she says that, you need to, when you're sort of thinking of planning and building, you have to go beyond those tier one cities and look at sort of the country holistically. Taking my own example, I'm from Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, and if I had the opportunities to do what I wanted to in Jabalpur beyond a certain point, there was no nothing I could do beyond a point there. So I had to sort of move to Delhi, which led me to further move. But if I had those opportunities, so you're also having a lot of brain drain. You're having a lot of people leave smaller towns. You're also having a lot of people leave India because of the lack of opportunities available there. Like, why does Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google, need to be in San Francisco? He's from India. Like, why could not he be Sundar Pichai in India? So like, we need to sort of, definitely look at what's going wrong, because we have all these amazing policies in place. Why are they not benefiting? Why are they actually, why are we not seeing results? And where it comes to like gender bias, a certain amount of bias exists and it's inherent. And I think we have to accept that to really know, to be able to do something about it. If you just ignore it and we say that it's okay or this is how things are, then it's never going to get better. And even in corporates, whether it comes to for example, like something as small as like maternity leave. It's really stressful because I don't have a child right now, but I do think about it that if I do have a child and I do have to take maternity leave, that's going to impact my career. My husband doesn't have to deal with the same thing, and we're both working, we're both doing equally well, we're both earning, but the bias and the onus just comes. So like I just wish the society sort of understood. And there's this one line I read which I really believe in, that I equality is not men and women sort of being equal. It is understanding that men and women are not equal, but knowing that this doesn't impact their capabilities. That I can do that despite having a child, despite running a home, I can do the same thing as my husband can. But not enough employers, not enough people sort of understand that. There definitely needs to be a lot more awareness around the gender issues and the gender bias that exists, which is very, very inherent in our society.
Yeah, in fact, I truly, and I would like to say that I truly agree not only with you, Vasundhara, but I would like to reiterate here once again, so many times I've done this at many platforms, is that people who say, oh, everything is fine because you're getting too many schemes and you're part of those policies, and now you should be okay. I think we have to really cover a huge journey as far as gender equality is concerned. I think there are so many things which we need to do. We have seen in the recent past, the kind of horrible things that are still happening to women in 2020, the kind of crimes we are watching against women, and how authorities are sometimes just stuck as to what they can now do, though they are now trying to maybe begin to do things. As we talk, we understand that, for example, in Uttar Pradesh, they are trying to observe safety week for women, things like that. But for me personally, I think, where are we? When we talk about going to Mars and Moon, and we have so many scientists, women taking up the corporate ladder or in politics, where are we that we still find crying, at so many levels, and trying to only look at things, when say that, okay, there is a law, but the law is not enough when it comes to its, exact execution on the ground. What would you say, Ms. Wani, as to gender equality, as to how far we still have to go? We're talking about how to tackle it, and we know that each time we say, oh, society, mindsets, authorities, policies, laws, but where are we stuck actually?
Again, Rakhee, a very, very personal opinion. I think we need to go back to Godhead. We need to go back to Godhead, We have to return to where we have come from. Every religion talks of a supreme power. We have to return to that supreme power. Then alone we'll begin to respect each other. These things which happen, the crimes, so-called, some are due to lack of materialistic things, okay? A thief will go out and steal because, he has a need he needs to feed his family, or he needs something. When these other crimes happen, if it was one man abusing someone, I could say it is lust, okay? But when it's a gang rape, then there's something wrong somewhere.
Hugely wrong, hugely wrong.
Hugely wrong. 1-to-1, I can say, okay, maybe the woman said, come on, or maybe the man was, but a gang rape. So where are we gone wrong? And therefore I said something is lacking in our education. And I'm not talking about literacy. I've got 1,000 degrees, but how does that matter? I need to, and we were talking about empathy, Everybody talks, I'm very sympathetic, but that is not sympathy. Sympathy comes out of compassion. We need to have that word you use, empathy. We need to feel like the other person. What is the other person feeling? What is the other person suffering? So I think the education first. I mean, I have this reputation of when this thing came around, beti bachao, beti padhao. I said, no. Beti bachao, lekin beta padhao.
Yes.
All the gatherings that we have, where they call me. Let the boys be there. Let the boys know. Mothers, every woman.
Campaign and where we
call he for she, because I don't think you can achieve equality without having men on your board. And in fact, coming from a family, I think my dad is probably the biggest feminist there is. He has always been equitable. He's made me sort of the woman I am today. So, we need to kind of bring what you're facing. And I do that with my husband regularly, because you'd be surprised how many things that even somebody who's very liberal and who's lived abroad, like they just don't know the plight that women are facing. So I think the first thing we need to do is just sort of start having a conversation without it being a fight. It's not a me against you.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it's not me against you, and I think three of us would like to put it together here that come on board with us, be partners and supporters in our cause, in our shared cause, actually. And talking about the visuals, yes, Vasundhara, I saw your picture with your father. In fact, when these days are celebrated, I mean, recently what we saw, for example, on Daughter's Day, of course, so many images we see. But I think it also gives us a happiness and confidence that people are going beyond visuals as well. I mean, they are, of course, sharing those pictures with women, girls, but I think they're going beyond also. But do you think, because we are sticking to the topic of Vasundhara, that as women, because on social media, we see a whole lot of things. We get up in the morning, first thing we keep our mobile in our hands and see things. Do you think we've begun, Vasundhara, to understand each other a little more? And this world of social media has also made us understand that we need to actually come together. We need to have compassion as empathy, and we need to have that solidarity. Because what if one thing is happening to one person, happens to other person? We need to come along together and collectively look at positive things, isn't it, Vasundhara?
I totally agree. I think social media is lovely when it's used positively. It can be a community, it can be a support system. When you're going through something, you see like strangers come and be the nicest to you and kind of maybe give you their experience, help out, and it's so touching to see that. So I definitely think that like social media is no like evil forum. It can be misused. It has been misused, but I would like to think of it as something positive, as a community that you can build for yourselves. And I think it can be great for women to reach out to other women. It can be a forum where you can lean on each other and learn from experiences of each other through whatever you may be going through, a tough time at your job, a tough pregnancy, maybe a divorce, whatever it is, there is some woman out there who's gone through something similar. And I think social media can be a very powerful forum to provide some sort of support to you.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point because, time and again in conferences that I attend and I go to and meet other people, one thing I'm always asked कि ma'am, आप तो empowerment की बात कर रही हैं women की पर महिलाएं ही एक दूसरे को परेशान करती हैं. I'm sure you all have heard that. And that's where I say no. I mean, and there are reasons. Then I go into the whole idea, of course, of how patriarchal conspiracy has been and how women actually somewhere understand that there is a shared challenge, there's the shared problem. It's just that they need to acknowledge. And that's why we are discussing this. Ms. Wani, what would you say that, ultimately it's, both men and women have to understand each other better, come to each other's rescue, support, help when it is needed. And for example, we are also talking about how authorities look at it. So at a time that we've begun to look at how daughters should be treated or women should be treated at home or at workplace, there are social security measures also which one is looking at. What would you say?
It don't you feel pains that an authority has to tell us how to deal with a lady?
Actually,
Why should a third party tell us? It should all be inborn, I mean, I'm born of a mother, so is a boy born of a mother. Every girl, the moment she's born, she's a potential mother. So if we look at a lady and say, okay, or a wife, she's your children's mother. Your sister is gonna be somebody's mother, So if we learn to respect a female, and today's the first day of Navratri, and I'm so glad we are having this talk.
actually,
All the Shakti, all the Shakti,
the woman part. Yeah.
All the Shakti of mother, all the 9 Rupas. Now that itself tells us the greater role that the female plays. She's your Purnima, she's your Lakshmi, she's your Saraswati, she's Kali, she's Durga. So we have these roles to play. And I think even if that is appreciated, it should be good enough for people to, respect the official authorities don't have to come and tell us. But yes, I do believe that judiciary is there in case something happens and the female wants to go in for some, say, compensation, or a divorcee wants to go for her alimony or whatever, the judiciary should be there. Perfect. But why a third authority has to tell us that you treat a lady like this or treat her like that?
Good point, actually. That I think it's the society's responsibility as to how we help each other. Let me now ask you. Let me now both of you ask a question. I mean, maybe you can share a personal experience as to anything, any story or any such incident that you remember where you thought that how women have come together, or you saw something, or in your personal experience you really felt very satisfied and happy that they're around. I mean, these experiences are around us, but anything that stands out, if you would like to share, both of you.
Sure.
Vasundhara,
Okay, sure.
let Vasundhara.
For me, I guess it's not an incident, it's a person. It's my nani. And she used to live in Lahore, and then during partition they lost everything, and then she sort of left with, like, they fled during partition, and they kind of had to start their life over. She met my nana. She's one of the strongest women I know. They had an accident. She can barely hear from one ear. She can't see from one eye, but she's the most positive and the strongest person I know. And I think she's the one person we all look up to. She's like literally, even till date at home, she's the one who's managing like all the accounting and finances. She knows what's cooking, just sitting in that chair, even though, she can't like walk around that much, like she knows what's going on. And all of us like live in different parts of the world, but she keeps a tab on all of us. And she's like just such an inspiring woman. And I remember this incident she was telling me. She was in a train once, and she was going, and a couple of guys were trying to sort of, eve tease. And she realized that they're from the army and her husband was in the army then. And, like she's just being her. She was like, Acha, and she noted their names. She's like, Acha, aap is regiment se hai, is cadre se hai, theek hai, main aapke captain ko janti hu. And like their faces just fell. She was like, she's one of those women who can, who shows everyone who's boss. And I think that's where a lot of, I think Ms. Wani, you'll agree with this. Like, I think Kashmiris have like a little bit of a fiery gene, especially the women, and I love that. They're known to be very strong, fierce women, and when I see my nanny, I see where it like comes from. So I think for me, like she's the role model and like the epitome of like feminism and everything amazing that I've learned from.
I think Vasundhara, when you were talking about it, the images of so many women actually who are like this. Come to my mind. And how strong we feel. I mean, including my own grandmother, who told me a story that how at midnight she actually rode a horse and she went to fetch something. She was as bold. So,
rode a horse. That's amazing.
Yeah, she told me, and I still, whenever I think of it, I like actually smile and laugh. So these are very bold images also coming from even those times. So look at the strength, the resilience that a woman had throughout all periods, all time phases, and that's what we need to celebrate actually. But unfortunately, there are things which are happening which really saddens us, and that brings me to the point to say that yes, it is important that the judiciary, as Ms. Wani, you rightly said, judiciary has to really be strong in terms of looking pertinently, very specifically at these nuances and problems. We need to have policies in place, of course, which need to be strict, and we need to really support. I mean, women need to support each other, yes. Men have to come out, understand, support, yes. But yes, there has to be a framework, of course, also a social framework, where nobody, including a woman or an old man, which we saw in Baba Ka Daba, should feel alone and which feel that, what do I do next? Where do I go? And that's where I think women as a strong human species come out stronger, Ms. Wani.
Rakhee, when Vasundhara was talking about her granny, I mean, I thought she's telling me my granny's story because they also they came from Karachi after partition, and after I lost my maternal nanny, grandmother, my mother took over. I mean, the last 5 years of my mother's life, she was in bed, but she controlled everybody, every family member, every friend all over the world on the telephone, So she'd get a call, Mummy, what are we to do in such and such festival? Mummy, today so-and-so is getting married. What should we do? It shows that, again, my own thing comes in, Rakhee, Vasundhara, education. And book education, no. The family education, the first 7 years of a child's life. And as long as the daughters and sons respect their parents and listen to them, I mean, till last year when I lost my mother, I think I never really grew up because I allowed her to do my decisions, except, of course, when you fall in love and, But I think we need to respect our elders. We need to listen to them. They're definitely more experienced. I keep telling the youth, don't ever take your problems to your peer group because their experience is equivalent to your own. Go to an elder person, go to your teachers, go to anybody who's elder to you, more experienced. And yes, you told me women should come together. Rakhee, let's be practical. There's something called ego also in every human being. It's not just male ego and female ego, It's ego per se. How many of us want to be so humble that you would allow someone else to guide you? You want that one-upmanship, Huh?
No, Ms. Wani, that's where I want to really come in and tell you that my experience recently, and I want to share that, is the word is solidarity. And I think that's such a beautiful word because, when that, okay, you have a family, you have men, women all around, but especially when a woman really stands with you, understands you, and without saying much, actually gives you that unsaid support. That solidarity bit is something that I really value. And I think, for example, right now, 3 women, and I've been doing shows, so many women that I've been talking to, with due regards to men out there. I think this whole idea of understanding solidarity emboldens
Yes.
us, strengthens
Yeah.
us to really walk on our path.
No, I trust the women commissions because women are there and they have that empathy to understand the woman's pain. I understand solidarity. Again, it gets to a level of only planning and dreaming. Really at the grassroots level, Vasundhara, as she said, Nani saw somebody Eve teasing and, that kind of thing. Those are instances. But we have groups on WhatsApp, we have female groups, we've got private groups in our Facebook, we talk openly, we discuss things. Then we have one-on-one friends. I mean, what I can't tell the public, what I can't tell my parents, what I can't tell my friends, but I tell somebody who's maybe somewhere in Canada, whom I'm not meeting, but on my WhatsApp or my messenger, I'm writing things and opening up to that person. Because somewhere deep down, I have faith,
Yeah.
trust is there.
And
Isn't it?
one thing I would like to also bring to the fore here is this whole intersectionality. So, for example, how do we understand different dimensions to the same problem? But then, for example, we're talking about communities, we are talking about class. We are seeing some of those class-related problems which are also happening. Ye chote hain, ye bade hain, especially women. That's where we really need to really have very strong conviction to stand out for something which is wrong. Whether a girl belongs to a certain caste or even a man or a boy. I think we are in modern times. We are looking at development. We are making a mark in the global chart. We're talking about being
Yes.
Atmanirbhar. So we need to really be modern in the true sense of the word.
For that, Rakhee, one world family, that's why I said everything has to be inborn. A lot of introspection, all the growth, the development, it has to be within every human being. And for that, the environment has to be prepared, and each one should help each other. Like when we sit for prayer these days, I request everybody pray for everybody else. A very small instance. The other day, I put up 2 words on my messenger story. I said, be kind. And a friend of mine immediately said, yeah, this is something, the deaf can hear and the blind can see. So I put it up as my status. And believe me, it's causing ripples amongst the
Very
friends.
good. Very good. That encourages me. Vasundhara, would you also agree? And I feel that we need to also come out and speak. What was happening is that earlier there was more silence, but we have started to speak, whether on social media or otherwise. And I
Right.
think speaking out helps, Vasundhara.
100% agree. I guess I've always been very vocal, even when I was much younger. But like the traditional concept is anytime like something happens for women at least, and because you're worried for their safety, you're always like ignore karo, don't say anything. And I guess I'm just not okay with that approach. And I do believe that if I see something which is wrong, I will speak out. I've always believed in that, and I've been taught that. And and I encourage like my friends and and that's when sometimes like movements like Me Too kind of took off. Why did they take off? Because you came together as a community, and to your point, like the solidarity, being like, I believe you, this happened to you. And so I think it matters. I think the more we speak out, the more you will realize that what, it's not just me. And that's how you build solidarity.
No, and so many, I think men and boys are watching. I think for them also, sometimes maybe they understand. And I think once we speak out, they also somehow start thinking, and they think, I mean, I'm not talking about everyone else, because sometimes they even know or still they, commit a crime or they do an injustice. Some of them, they share with us that maybe they did not understand that well. So that's why speaking out, coming out with the problems, challenges, or whatever wrong is happening is, I think, is very justified. Now let's also look at some of these questions. Anushka, do we have questions? I could see in the chat box some of these statements or reactions coming in. Do we have questions? Somebody has to ask a question.
We have a lot of comments that reflect and echo the views of our speakers.
One of the comments also has questions coming, yeah.
Absolutely. I think like we have a few of them telling us about how moral values are important, and this moral decay in society really needs to be tackled. And another telling us about how positive role models are essential. And while we await more questions, I think I have a question for both our speakers. I think the World Economic Forum's report, the Gender Gap Report in 2020, talks about how, especially in the political empowerment angle, the political representation sub-index, we particularly haven't been doing so. It'll be about so what do you think some of the flaws in our system are? I mean, we've discussed moral decay, we've discussed the need for role models, but do you see this as a structural problem as well, where we feel, like even at the local grassroots levels, we might have cases of, token representation. You have a seat for somebody, and it really doesn't translate into action. Like Roma ma'am also commented that it doesn't translate into action. So I would like your views on this, either of our speakers.
Yeah, both of you actually, Roma ma'am and Vasundhara.
Vasundhara brought up a very important point. When we get too educated, we also develop a sense of shyness. Whereas if you go to the rural areas, as Vasundhara pointed, I mean, I see women literally running with a broom after the man because he's a drunkard. But lady staying in a metro city or a cosmopolitan city wouldn't do that, because she says, no, this is not done, right? So it's a very tricky question, eh? No, role models, again, should not be developed or elected, no. If we have equal rights, right from the panchayat level, when the elections happen, it's because your village knows you. If you're a strong lady, can really run with the belan or the broom after the man, people are going to automatically have become a role model because of the way you're handling your life. And so if in this case, it should be from the grassroots level upwards. I don't believe in an election system where just because you're a film star or you've got a lot of following, you're brought into the lower house or the upper house. No, not done. You need representatives who are actually through free and fair elections brought in. No money play, no nothing. And I'm only quoting these words, not because I believe or not believe, but because this is what goes down in the public eye. Because the media talks about these things, isn't it? So somewhere in everybody's mind, the feeling is there that, oh, these elections, no, pata nahi, kitna paisa kharch hua, the kind of thing, So role models in society come in a different way. One of my spiritual masters has taught us, say, religion, talk of it less and practice more.
Okay.
Well, talk of it less and practice more, so that people recognize you by your practice, who you are, not because you're talking. Your behavior should be such that people follow you. Rakhee, I see you behaving very well, and I see people being impressed by it, right? Next time I get onto the web, I would rather follow you, isn't it? I would see, oh, she monitored this way. And, she got a lot of appreciation. So it is a behavior.
I have a perspective here before I go to Vasundhara, is that, sometimes we see that when you get more representation in political spectrum, because I also saw it closely because of my earlier assignment, is that also creates a new narrative altogether for everyone to understand and get inspired by. So, for example, giving more tickets or giving more representation in parties, to Vidhan Sabhas, to Parliament, it also creates that kind of a mindset shift when more women are giving those spaces, because these are spaces of power. They are policy makers. They create policies, and the kind of sensitivity which it requires, which we are talking about, that sensitivity in judiciary and other sectors and in administration. So in political spectrum, if that sensitivity is shown more, then I think that also will have an effect. I believe in that. For example,
there's no harm. No, I mean, I'm the kind of person who would like to see the full house of women. Believe me. I honestly believe once we get back to a matriarchal society, everything will fall into place. I'm not anti-men. No. But they have made a mess of the civilization. There's no doubt about that. Over the years, over the decades. But we are equal. But I respect the man, because without the man, what is a woman? And vice versa, vice versa. We need to respect each other.
But that's true, but that needs to be respected. I think that
Yes.
maybe we'll have other edition on so many other things related to what you're saying. Vasundhara, what would you say about Anushka's question about political representation of women?
Anushka, so that was a great point. And Rakhee, I echo your sentiment. I think representation absolutely matters. Whether it's women, whether it's a certain caste, because what the point we raised earlier was that you have to have empathy. And how do you have empathy if you haven't really gone through something, right? And how can you have a room full of men deciding laws for women? They don't get it. Unfortunately, no offense, but they don't really get it, right? Yeah, sure, they have wives and they have sisters, and some of them may be able to resonate, but you need to have a woman representative there. And that's why I am in full support that more, women need to kind of come to the forefront. But I also completely agree that leaders can't be, like, you can't force leadership. It has to come organically. It has to come from the grassroots. It's hard. It's hard to just kind of put like a forceful figure there and be like, follow him or follow her. It doesn't really work like that. Like if you really think of flag bearers and torch bearers, those people kind of come or are built organically within the society, and then the right people should be given representation.
Okay. Okay, before I think my team announces, there is a feedback form also which needs to be filled up. I think each time we are getting a very diverse kind of participation. We get it from young people. Then there are some teachers, there are some thinkers who join us, and then they write into us with some new ideas. And we're really thankful that each time that we are curating a show with a very different kind of theme. And let me share this here, Vasundhara and Wani, that the idea on Her World shows are not really just to also talk about big names who are already there everywhere, but to talk to people with whom we really share those ideas that they have, and they have something to really contribute in the real sense. And that journey is on, and we're really, really thankful that we are talking about it. We'll really welcome some other ideas that will come in and that are coming in each time. And that's where we are. Any other question, Anushka?
Ma'am, we don't have any more questions. Yeah,
I think we've made everybody listen a lot and not really asking too many questions. But I think any message that you all have to give, Ms. Wani and Vasundhara, any other thought that you'd like to share on this platform as we go ahead? We're still in pandemic time. We still have a lot of journey to cover. What are these points that you would like to look at or suggest that will only look at the betterment of society or contribute to it?
Vasundhara?
Oh, sorry, you got cut off. I couldn't hear you.
So yeah, I was just saying that, as we're trying to now maybe wrap up, I think some of these points that you would like to look at, we are in pandemic, and all men and women all, but especially we three women out here and so many women out there. What are the specific points that you'd like to make or look at that will contribute to the betterment of society at large?
Sure. I think for me, there are a couple of things that I have changed and some things that have resonated. One is just slow living. I think we forgot what slow living was. So it's just pausing and going back to your roots and, just pausing and not being in that rush anymore, and being more sustainable, being more conscious. Like, the environment is loving us better. Everybody, we're having more conversations with our families, we're being present in the moment. So to me, that is the biggest learning that COVID has brought about to me. And I see that with not just me, with a lot of my fellow like friends and beings as well. So just the concept of sort of going and this is going back to Miss Roma's point of just going back to your roots, and COVID has really taught us that, I feel like.
Any other insights? You're in Singapore, for example. Any other insights that you'd like to share that is something new that we can take home today?
I mean, Singapore's handled it really well. So we're sort of almost it's back to normal. But I think one thing that I have learned here that I think we can definitely replicate in India is just a little more respect for each other and the rules. Because the reason that everybody, like, you still go out, we barely have any cases here, but you go out and everybody has their mask on, and I know that's definitely not happening in India. So here people have a lot of respect for you and your, there's a lot of dignity in whatever work you do. It doesn't matter whether you're a driver or a cook or a hotshot professional. Irrespective, there's a lot of dignity when you have to talk to everybody equally, to respect each other, and that kind of leads people to follow rules and behave a certain way, which I do think lacks in India a little bit.
So that's another word apart from solidarity, which I really like, is dignity. I think that's where everything starts and emanates. Miss Wani, your insights here. But I would say, yes, we mentioned and we shared this, that the beginning of Navratri and the power of Ma Durga, we are actually looking at. I feel so glad that everyone actually looks up to the woman power. The energy, if you look at these idols that they exhibit, is so empowering. And that was always there in our traditions all around us. We just need to understand it, respect it.
Yes. Rakhee, I agree with you. And, Vasundhara has brought out two very good things. I have an aunt living in Singapore, so I have some first-hand information there. She tells me not more than 5 people can visit your house, for example. And in case, there are unannounced checkups. So the police will come into your house and suddenly see more than 5 visitors, well, you're fined for it. Am I right, Vasundhara?
That's absolutely right. Yes.
So that means it's a two-way affair,
Common. I think the whole Kashmir background and maybe everything else, maybe that you can share notes about.
You want me to continue living in Kashmir? I better not tell you anything.
Carry on. Yeah.
Actually, Kashmir is a little different. Let's face it. If other people have had their lockdowns only for 6 months, obviously we've had it for many, many years, And so when we go out, we think it's like, it's not a question of going out from the lockdown. It's a question of going out of your house, So, let's not get specific, but let's generally understand that the good thing that has happened is, and I'm being inspired to say all these things from the beautiful videos that I get on my WhatsApp these days, and how, we were going and having our KFCs and McDonald's and all that stuff. And now suddenly we realize that Gharka roti is very good. And I don't even crave, I wanted to go watch a movie. I wanted to go for a party. I wanted to go to the club. I wanted to have a kitty party. No more. And I'm still living. Believe me, my health is getting better. Yes, but the whole thing is overruled, or rather dominated, by that one thing that is creeping in, that is depression. Depression is creeping in like anything, and people are not conscious about it. This I can be specific. Every second, third person I'm talking to is sounding low or is doing things which they've never done before.
On loneliness. Loneliness also.
Isn't it? So, that interaction, it had its own positive points also. You went to a movie, and anyway, that had come down a little bit because now you have your Netflix and all that. So anyway, you're watching all movies on your in your house anyways. So I think the only good outing was now going to a hotel and calling your friends and having a meal outside. Vasundhara, how is it with you?
No, I completely agree. Yeah, that before, like, we were going out so much, and now I would never. I didn't know how to cook that well, and I'm an excellent cook now.
Yeah,
COVID has really taught me, and I love home food. I don't want to go out anymore.
I mean, if I was meeting you otherwise today, I would have put on some jewelry and brush my hair and made sure that I'm wearing some different clothes. But now we are talking and we are so comfortable, huh? And we're sharing our thoughts. Rakhee?
I'll just add here that the digital part, the fact that we are talking right now on a digital platform. I mean, we are working on a digital platform. We are teaching, we are learning. We have online classes. We have online study. So many things on digital platform going on. That's another, I think, takeaway also. And now
Rakhee, it's not a piece of cake. Let me tell you. I'm talking to parents who are cribbing. They're saying when our children went to the school, they had that one-on-one interaction with their teachers. Now a teacher gets onto the screen, she doesn't know who she's talking to.
It is certainly challenging. It's stressful at times.
And it's stressful. I'm sorry, but it's stressful for the parents as much.
Yeah.
And more so for the mother, because the man will again say, I have to do my job online. So again, the female, she has to do not only her own work online, her housework, because she's at home, then she has to see that the children do their online work also.
I know about it. I think these are dimensions. These are new dimensions, actually. That's what I was saying, that these are new dimensions. For example, we at Her World, we are trying to talk to, especially we had editions earlier where we talk to, women from Jammu and Kashmir. We talk to women from Northeast. We want to bring in all those voices also, which sometimes we think, do not really, or do get lost somewhere in that mainstream, discussions. So that is another thing that we are doing, and we'll continue to do that. And I think if Ninglun is there, I would like her to come on screen and share her words, because she comes from Manipur, and how she started her journey and how we all are working together. We are at different places, I must tell you. And we bring in this show almost every week now. Ninglun.
Wonderful.
Do we have her? Ninglun? Unless she's really gone to buy something, which she sometimes does. So we also have Sneh, who's backstage, who's been talking to you, but every time these editions come to you because Sneh has been managing. Can we see Sneh for a while? Is it possible? Or Deepak also, who's managing things. And I really want to have them or to be seen, because it's very important to be seen and heard as well, not only be backstage and just go away.
Yes, Mama, I'm here.
Or say something. Sneh is busy managing, I think. She's too long. I don't know where is she and whether she's not hearing me or something. But she's the one I can tell you, and that's why I wanted to give due credit, because I think giving credits are also very important, and I believe that it's a teamwork that we are into, and that's why it was important to have them there. Maybe another show, another time. So Vasundhara, it's such an interesting conversation, and that's how I wanted it to be. Miss Wani, when we talked about questions, answers, but I think these are the things that we needed to talk and discuss, and that is the mode that I like. I mean, and maybe
Rakhee, it doesn't matter if you don't get questions now. I honestly believe that we have all spoken from our heart. And so all our friends who are listening to us, I'm sure a lot of questions will come to their mind, but from what we have spoken, I'm sure they'll see that every bend is not the end of the road. It's just a bend. And when we come to that corner, we'll always face the challenges waiting beyond that. So, not to worry. And I wish you all the best for your future talks. Huh? The only thing I would request parents over here, the digital world is so vast. Keep an eye on the children. Every time they're with their computers, just keep an eye. Keep the door half partly open. Keep an eye on them as to what they're doing. Are they really into their schoolwork, or are they being diverted by the other things which are just at the press of a button, and which may not be the right age for them to be seeing, because certain visuals are so traumatic. I mean, sometimes I go through with my remoting or surfing. I mean, even I would blush. So if the child or a youth is exposed to that kind of thing, you don't know how he won't know how to handle those things.
I think that's a very pertinent point that you said, and I think we should really, really, remember this point whenever we are at home and children are with their gadgets. It's
And I
very,
need to compliment Vasundhara, that speak up and stand up and speak out. We had a conference in Bangalore, and it was named SUSO, stand up and speak out.
I love that.
So
Thank
it's
you so
very
much.
important, very important.
yes, Vasundhara. So as we finally come to the end, anything else? Thank you so much, Vasundhara, for, and we'll keep talking. We'll keep sharing these things
Yeah,
on social
thank
media.
you.
We'll try
I
to
just
do-
want to say one thing, that like it's so great you are doing this, and sometimes change is not always tangible. Like you may not have questions at that point, as Ms. Roma Wani said, but at the same time, it's you're just getting people to think about a lot of things, and like change happens over a period of time. It's a dialogue that we're starting, with women, with the people in general, and it's really important. These are conversations that need to be had. So I must really thank you and your team for this amazing initiative.
Thank you so much. Only encourages us and only adds to our support system. Thank you so much. Two wonderful women that were there, that are there with us. Ms. Roma Wani, thank you so much for joining us
My
in this
pleasure.
show.
Ms.
And
Wani,
Vasundhara,
My
lovely
pleasure.
to see you.
keep following you on Twitter and watching you as to as to what all is happening. And so is with Ms. Wani. We take some of these messages that you share with us, very, very important ones.
And
And so, once again, to all the viewers, we'll keep the dialogue on in our future shows. You can write into us with new topics that you have, you think about.